Welcome back, lads, to another Monster Hunter Rise video. Today we've got the first installment of my new series, and that is how to build the best series. In due course, we're going to cover every single weapon and help you guys build whatever build you want for each weapon. When I say the best build, I mean the build you want to currently go for in terms of DPS or certain particular things, but I will be focusing on the AK meta sort of style skill builds. Obviously take that with a grain of salt, do what you wish, but I'm just going to give you my personal opinion and what I think is good right now for every single weapon. Obviously today's topic will be focusing on the longsword. We're going to primarily be focusing skills and not really armor pieces. I will tell you certain things to craft if you need to, but I won't be giving you like exact builds either. It will just be me telling you certain skills. Right at the end of the video though, I will be giving you 3 builds, but not going into depth on what armor pieces it is, just obviously the actual skills you should be looking for. Also, we're going to be looking into different prioritizations in terms of 3 being the highest one and must need for the longsword, then 2 being the obviously middle cap, and then 1 being the yes, it's nice to have but not the best thing to have. Starting from the level 3 prioritization, and that will be quick sheath. That is the most important skill in my opinion you need for sword at the moment. Yes, some people don't need it. I don't think everyone needs it anyway, but in terms of getting the most efficient longsword builds you can, I definitely 100% recommend you put on quick sheath level 3. This increases your sheath time and this allows you to get off more counters, more helm splitters, all that good stuff. But yeah, it's +3 is a must-have in my opinion. It's quite easily gemmed in as well via level 2 slots. And if you are just looking for a quick armor set to go for, just go for the full barrier armor. It gives you quick sheath level 3 as it comes. Next up is weakness exploit. If you haven't already gathered, this is probably one of the go-to, let's say, meta cells at the moment for pretty much 99% of builds at the moment. This also goes for longsword. I recommend going for a level 3 of weakness exploit. This basically allows you to do more damage on the monster's weak spots. It's just really nice to have, and it rolls on through to the next skill I'm going to talk about, and that is critical boost. And this is just a pair with weakness exploit. I recommend getting level 2 as just a base. I don't think level 3 is needed because it is quite hard to get level 3 without sacrificing extra perk skills. What this does, critical boost does, it allows you to do more damage when you hit critical attacks. So obviously when you hit more damage on the weak spots via weakness exploit, critical boost will just boost the damage because you're going to probably more than likely be hitting the critical attack. An easy level 2 weakness exploit for armor pieces is the Spio for female or Scolder for male waist. This will give you weakness exploit level 2 straight away. And if you want to get a easy critical boost level 2, which is probably more than enough, that is the Raging Feet, obviously for both female and male. Next up is attack boost, and this is another one which is kind of not a must-have, but it's really nice to have. And when you do get to level 4 and above, it actually stacks more damage on damage. I don't know why it's really good in Rise in comparison to World, but for some reason getting level 4 and getting the extra bonus damage on the damage, as I'm going to show you in the builds at the end, I'll explain a bit more in detail. It is really good if you are going for just trying to stack attack. But yeah, definitely go for level 4 to level 7. This will just drastically increase your DPS. Moving on to critical eye, and this is another funny one, and I would say it's niche, but it's not as powerful anyway as it was in World, so you don't need it as much. But it is still important to have affinity, so if you have got a sword which is low on affinity, definitely try and stack in some critical eye somewhere, either via gem or whatever, because it is really nice to have affinity and just critical chance in fights anyway. So definitely aim for, I recommend level 2 at like a minimum, but just gaining more is just a bonus in my opinion. But still, it's not really a must-have, but I have still put it at level 2 priority because I still think it is pretty important to actually have affinity in fights. Next up is maximum might, and it's actually one of my favourite skills to have. But if you are finding yourself dodging too much and using your stamina too much with a longsword and not being able to counter as much, and that isn't your style of play, I don't recommend using this cell at all. But if you are a player who likes to counter, then I recommend this cell pretty highly, and that's why I've started it at 2 priority. Basically what this does is when no stamina is consumed, you gain an increase to your affinity. Please tell me if I'm wrong in the comment section below, but I'm pretty sure after 2 seconds has passed without using stamina, you get the maximum might ability, and then when you use the stamina, it stops the maximum might, and then it resumes maximum might when you don't use stamina again for another 2 seconds after the cell's been deactivated. So if I am wrong, just tell me, but I'm pretty sure this is how it works. But I do recommend maximum might if you've got a cell to put in somewhere. Moving on to a skill which I actually want to put higher in the list, but that is latent power. It is only a 1-star just because it is pretty costly on the skill side of things. But what it does is it gives your character a glow on its right wrist, I believe. And then obviously when it's deactivated, it obviously disappears. The way it activates, I'm pretty sure, obviously again, correct me if I'm wrong, after 2 minutes has passed in combat, you will gain latent power. This increases your affinity and decreases your stamina consumption, which is really nice to have, especially as a passive ability. And then it deactivates after roughly 2 minutes, and then activates again roughly 2 minutes after deactivation. Like I said, it's a nice passive to have, but it is quite costly on the skill front. So if you're not running Zenogre's armor, then it might not be the best choice for you. But if you do manage to get it in your build, it is pretty nice just to have as, like I said, a passive skill. Moving on to speed sharpening, and I think, me personally, I think this is like a crutch perk for a lot of people, but it is still very good and it has its place in certain builds like with protective polish, and if you just generally like sharpening quickly in fights. But personally, I think people just use it because they just like getting off sharpens quick and just having maximum sharpness, which is really nice, but I just think you can get more DPS via not sharpening like every time you lose a bit of sharpness. But one protective polish actually becomes decent, and you can get certain armor pieces with protective polish more easily and with better cell slots. I think speed sharpening will be a lot more, let's say, meta, but right now as it stands, it's just a good tool for just sharpening mid-fight, and it's a nice thing to have, but I don't think it's really like a main key skill to add into your build. But regardless, if you've got a spare 1 skill point to spare, definitely just gem it in if you like it. I do in some of my builds, but like I said, it's not a necessity, so don't worry about it too much. Moving on to the last skill I recommend, and that is obviously a 1-star as well, and that is flinch free. This is a really nice skill to have if you're a multiplayer, but if you are playing solo, there's literally no point in having it at all. This is why it is so low on the list. But I do understand the frustration when you're in multiplayer and you get people just hitting your mid combo, especially when you're just about to get that last hit round slash to get you on red meter. If you obviously want to gem it in, I recommend gemming this in instead of speed sharpening when you're playing multiplayer. But if I had to choose between speed sharpening on solo or flinch free, obviously 100% you would go for speed sharpening. But I think, yeah, them 2 cells can go hand in hand. If you have the 1 cell slots remaining, just put in flinch free. Another thing to add with flinch free as well, I think it's only really useful at level 3 if you want to make sure you're getting the full potential out of not being knocked back, and that causes kind of a problem if you haven't got too many slots left. But then again, it is only a singular cell slot to put into your build, so it's not too hard. But regardless, it's not like a necessity again, but if you like to have flinch free, then go for it, or by all means, but it's not going to help you like boost DPS, etc. As I previously mentioned, I was going to show you off a couple of builds. A couple of these have already been mentioned in my previous video, my endgame builds, so definitely go check that out if you have time after you finish watching this one. But first things first, this is a DPS style approach build. If you wanted to stack damage on damage and keeping your weapon sharp at the same time, this is for you. So we've got the attack boost, which is really nice, giving us that bonus 10% attack and another bonus of 10. I'm not entirely sure what bonus 10 means, but I don't know what it is. For some reason, on this game in comparison to World, stacking attack boost past level 4, giving you that plus 7, 8, 9, 10 is just huge on damage. I don't know why, but if you are stacking attack boost, definitely aim for at least level 4. But because we are just stacking damage, that's why I've got a level 7, and it is really, really nice to have. Also, the Razor Sharp level 3. This is obviously a sharp build, so if you are trying to keep weapons sharp, level 3 is like a must-have. Level 2 is not too bad, but the jump from level 2 just to level 3 is 25%, which is double. So I do recommend just trying to at least, well, actually trying just to go for level 3 because it is worth the added boost of 25%. Obviously, we have that quick sheath level 3 for that must-have playstyle for quick sheathing. I do recommend every longsword build to have this. For some reason you're not using it, I think you are missing out on many counters and just allowing you to stay up in red bar. Obviously, if you are running that Sakura / Wirebug move, I guess quick sheath doesn't really have to be a thing, but if you're running Helm Splitter like I always do, I do recommend running quick sheath. I'm not going to cover the passive like recovery speed and the other ones, just the actual critical ones. Also, critical eye, I actually gemmed this in just because I had some spare slots. If your build is missing affinity, definitely put it in because it is a pretty good skill to have as well, obviously on longswords and any build actually. But even though it isn't as good or vital as world builds, definitely gem it in if you have some slots spare as well. Going down here to maximum mites, this is quite a weird one, but a very nice passive to have. While active, increases affinity by 10%, obviously 20 and then 30. I think I gemmed this in because I had a spare slot. I'm pretty sure the way this works is every 2 seconds, after 2 seconds you haven't used stamina, which you won't be using too much stamina when you're mid combo with longsword, you will activate the increased affinity by whatever level you have. If I am wrong, definitely just quote me in the comments section, please do. But regardless, after you do use stamina, the maximum white won't active until you don't use stamina for another 2 seconds. I think that's correct. But regardless, it is a real nice passive to have, so I recommend gemming it in if you have spare slots. That's the first build. Obviously, feel free to copy these if you want to. Going on to my second one. This is actually my favorite build. It's called the my Wex Longsword. Give me a second. As you can see here, weakness exploit level 3. Paired up with the critical boost level 2. Let's mention critical boost first. Obviously, as I already mentioned, the critical boost jump from level 2 to level 3 isn't really significant. So just having level 2 is perfectly fine. And if for some reason you only have level 1, it's not too much of a big deal. But level 2 just seems like a nice key spot to aim for. This paired up with weakness exploit, level 3. I do recommend level 3, by the way. It is really good. The jump from level 2 to level 3 is 20%. So for 1 point in weakness exploit, I definitely would recommend going for it, especially in your talismans. Once again, this build actually has maximum might level 3, allowing you to have that passive by 30% this time. I actually really like maximum might. It's one of my favorite skills in this game. And again, quick sheath. I also gemmed in critical eye. And this time I also have latent power as well, another passive. I'm pretty sure the way this activates is when you're in combat for more than 2 minutes, it basically does what it says here. At level 2, while active, increases infinity by 20% and reduces stamina depletion by 30%. So after combat for 2 minutes, you will go into latent power mode, signified by the glowing right hand. You will definitely see it because it's like a really cool like watch glow on your right hand. When that disappears, you know latent power is not activated, and you've got to wait another, I think, 2 minutes or 2.5 minutes for in combat to activate again. That's one of the other builds. Moving on to my final one I'm going to show you, and that's my element style one. This is the Squawk one, the Squawk Scythe, sorry, the Squawk Scythe, I think that's how you pronounce it. Regardless, it doesn't matter if you're running dragon or not, or whatever element. If you're running dragon, obviously run the dragon attack and gem it in, because it is only one skill slot to gem in. So if you want to boost your element, obviously put the elements in via your decorations. Attack boost level 4, as I already mentioned, level 4 and above is really good to have. Weakness exploit level 3 with the critical boost level 2. Quick sheath level 3. And that latent power level 2. Also, I managed to get a talisman to fit in there with Razor Sharp, which is really nice. And speed sharpen level 1, I somehow managed to get that in as well. If you are a player who likes speed sharpening level 3, I probably wouldn't recommend this build because it's going to be hard gemming in speed sharpening, getting all your skills and your element buffs. So I think speed sharpening is quite a crutch, but if you like it, feel free to take it out and not run the element boost.